afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Yasmin Flores, and welcome back to the Arts at EPCC. This afternoon, I am joined by Michael Head from the Mass Comm department. Good afternoon, Michael. How are you?
Dr. Flores. I'm doing great. How are you doing? Thank you for letting me come in and share some time with you.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to our jungle. This is my friend, the palm tree, we use in our background.
I'm looking for something to climb out of it in a second.
I know,
that's
that
okay.
would be awesome. That would cost a little extra money, though, but maybe next time. So welcome, and question for you. I have 10,000 questions about Mass Comm. You all are located on the second floor mainly at Valle Verde.
Yes.
Okay.
Down in the back corner that nobody can ever find until they've been there 4 times. After that, it's fine.
Yes. So, and kind of by biology up there, right?
Yes, which makes for some very interesting smells every once in a while.
Yes, the formaldehyde. I know sometimes I'm smelling it and I'm looking for your offices and everything, and I'm like, they're around here somewhere. So, okay, and you specifically do film production for Mass Comm.
A lot of the classes I teach are the film and television production classes.
Awesome. Okay, So what do you all do in those specific classes?
Well, it's kind of a 10,000-foot view of video production. So in the Comm 1336 class, which is the Digital Video Production 1 class, we go over the basics of setting up the camera, using lights, using microphones, just to understand the basics of the technical side of things. Then we get into a little more on the creative side of things. So we talk about framing and camera movement. The students have the opportunity to do a variety of different projects. I usually start them with kind of your basic interview, because that's kind of the bread and butter of a lot of filmmakers, is knowing how to set up an interview, kind of like this one, but maybe just one-on-one. Then they learn the basics of editing. We use mainly the Adobe suite of software, Premiere Pro, for editing. After that, they kind of get to stretch their legs a little bit and have a project of their own choosing. Sometimes it's a short film, sometimes it's a documentary, sometimes it's corporate work. And that's the kind of basics of the Digital Production 1 class. The 1337 Digital Production 2 class, we expand on what we've talked about there. So I know everybody teaches things a little bit differently. For me, we get into a little bit of motion graphics, where they're actually learning in the editing software how to do like lower thirds, expanding that. They do a little bit of green screen work, which is something where they learn a little bit of special effects. Just most kids find that very interesting and something that they kind of don't really know about, but getting the opportunity to, some of them put themselves inside a movie trailer. The opportunity to do that is just, it's a great experience and learning experience that translates well from video production into something like live production, where you still see a lot of green screen work. Then they also have a couple of different options for other projects they do. Again, it's kind of a short film, documentary, a project of their choice. And that gives them a lot of input. I give them feedback into it. We do talk a little bit about pitching, so we get into the real nitty-gritty of the communication side of things, where a lot of video production depends on you being able to go to somebody and say, let me convince you to help me make this video. And so it's that communication aspect where they're communicating their ideas effectively to somebody else, getting feedback. For me in particular, I like to focus on kind of the client aspect of things, where they're working with somebody else. So they know how to do a basic interview so that they can take that to a corporation and say, hey, let me shoot some corporate videos for you, so they can really get going, not just in terms of this for class, but a calling card for future employment. That's kind of my goal with the classes.
Right. Wow. That's so awesome. And so you just touched on something very interesting, which was the you called it the green background, the
green screen, chroma key. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of terminology. Hold on. Green screen. That's what we're going to call it.
Okay.
So green screen, and you mentioned that they can put themselves in movie trailers.
Right.
So I want to kind of ask you a question about something that's happening right now, security-wise,
okay.
Right? As you have heard, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about this, it's that now the technology has gotten so advanced that I've seen commercials or snippets where they've put Tom Cruise's face in something, or they've put,
deep fakes. That's what those are.
That's what it's called. And so is that essentially something similar?
Deep fakes are very I guess it's a very specific growth from that technology.
I see.
It's easiest to do with celebrities because what you need is a lot of pictures of a person's face from a lot of different angles. The easiest way to do that with Tom Cruise, go to his movies. You can see him from every different angle, all different ages, things like that. And the technology to do that has become more easily accessible. Like, you can even do that on your phone these days, where you can actually take a video of your own face, and it does what, I'm going to get very technical, it does what, if my understanding of it, I haven't done this a whole lot, I haven't done deepfakes a lot. I'm trying to kind of avoid that, actually, even though I kind of learn about it.
Yeah.
It studies the texture of your face and the depth of your face, and then it overlays the other person on top of that.
Wow.
There's a lot of people that are doing that in production right now. Like, I'm kind of a big science fiction fan, and so the Mandalorian series on Disney Plus. Spoiler alert! If you don't want to watch, if you like Star Wars and don't want to watch The Mandalorian, spoiler alert.
All right.
The last episode of the last season of Mandalorian had young Luke Skywalker on the episode. They did a deep fake of his face to put him from Return of the Jedi into the episode.
The actor.
They had Mark Hamill on set doing the lines. They had a stand-in actor that was younger, but then they took Mark Hamill's face from the original Star Wars movies and they basically overlaid that for the television show. So it's something that's becoming a mainstream application, even though right now it's kind of been more towards kind of the fun side of things, videos for Instagram, things like that. But that also gets into something I do like to talk about with my students, is the ethical side of things. Because just about, you can make anybody say just about anything right now. And most people, especially on the internet, because everything's true on the internet, right? They have to be able to differentiate and figure out what's true and what's not true.
It's fascinating. It's very scary to me because it has become easier, as you pointed out, to do these things. But it seems like, and you can tell me the history of this, didn't it start with dead actors and actresses? Because I think it was James Dean was one of the earliest ones that they used. And so they were using all these old clips of him from, what was that, 1950s, I believe? The movie with Elizabeth Taylor. And I can't remember the title of the movie now. But I know James Dean was one of the actors, and there's been several others who have been long gone, but they somehow figure out a way to put them in the background, lines and all.
Yeah.
And they're literally cutting and pasting them in. And so that's kind of crazy. It's
if I remember right, the one you're talking about was actually a commercial.
Oh, was it a commercial?
And they put James Dean in a commercial for something else. I don't remember exactly what it was. The technology has been growing. When they did, again, Star Wars fan, I'm a geek. It's so much fun though. When they did the Star Wars film Rogue One, they had to bring back the actor that played Moff Tarkin, who I think it was Peter Cushing.
Okay.
I think I might have the name wrong. But he passed away a long time ago, but they had the same character in it. So they used a stand-in actor with a very similar face, and they basically did a deep fake to make him into Peter Cushing, using voice samples to make him sound the same. So it was recreating this dead actor. And that is an ethical concern these days, because how do they get permission from somebody that's passed away to bring them back?
Right.
And what is the process for that? Does the estate have something to say about it? Does the fact that this is becoming something you can do in your phone is incredible, and the implications are both a little bit scary, but also something where we have to be aware of and just be able to teach, how do we use this effectively? How do we use it ethically?
Yeah.
How do we really consider, is this something I should be doing or should not be doing? Now, a majority of people, they're just going to do it because they can. But especially, I think, for our students, it's important for them to think about a discussion I commonly have with my students. Is Photoshop good or bad? But neither. It's a tool. But it's what you do with the tools that really decides or shows whether it's a good or bad use of that tool.
There was a cover where somebody had 3 legs on Vogue, I believe it was.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
a
Yep.
good example of like an oops, right? So let's kind of rewind a little bit. And I know that it is the afternoon. You might be seeing this in the morning, but I do want to say, let's talk about you for a moment. And are you're from El Paso, Texas?
I am not.
Okay, where are you from?
I was born and raised in Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Went to Monterey High School.
All right.
And when I got close to graduating, my parents said, "You can go to Tech and live at home." And I said, "No." So I went just far enough away to a little school called Howard Payne University. Majored in, I crammed 4 years of college into 5, and I majored in, but I got 2 degrees, computer information systems
good.
and honor social sciences.
Wow.
And met my now wife there. My wife is from El Paso, so that's how we ended up moving back here. That's a whole other story. We lived in Dallas for a long time, and I taught first geography in public schools, and I got hired in a private school to teach computer classes. And I might be getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but I got hired to teach computer classes, and they also said, well, because you know computers, you can teach video production too, right? Because we have this video production class. And I said, yes, absolutely. Went home that night and Googled how to teach video production.
How funny.
But
Wow.
I just fell in love with it. I did a lot of theater growing up, and I always enjoyed that. Didn't really get to do it much after college, but I just fell in love with video production. And so, me being the person that I am, I went back to school online while I was teaching full time, and I got a degree from Full Sail University in digital cinematography. Then I went back and got my MA, my Master of Arts in digital storytelling at Asbury University. Then I went and finished out my MFA, my Master of Fine Arts, in film and television production, also at Asbury.
Wow.
So I have way too many degrees, as my wife says.
Hey, but that makes you well-rounded and just, awesome for our college, because we have somebody as talented as you coming in and teaching these courses, which is just great. So welcome, and thank you for coming to El Paso. So you mentioned all these degrees, and you mentioned your background, and you said theater. So you've worked with the theater department here at EPCC, and Dominic Pagano.
Yes, and Ted Carver.
And Ted Carver, of course.
Fantastic.
I know he is. I love Ted. He's already been on the show twice, actually. But Dominic, I interviewed him the other day, and he was great. So tell me a little bit. So theater, which is way different from film production. The acting is different.
Yes.
The lighting is different. What do you prefer, first of all?
Well, film, because that's what I do. That's what I fell in love with. I love theater. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love theater. I love doing theater. I love being in theater. I love being involved in it. My wife was a theater major in college.
Okay.
So I have that connection there too. What I love about theater is the show must go on.
Right.
So you don't really have a choice. You're in front of an audience, things are going to go, and it's going to go, and you got to keep going.
Right.
Unless something really, really bad happens. I have a story about that if you want to hear it. We don't have to do that now. There was blood involved. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, now I got to tell you that story. I was doing a theater production in college with my now wife. We weren't married at the time. We were doing a children's play, which was written, it was a version of Aladdin that was written by one of our college students. We were traveling around to different elementary schools to perform for elementary schools. And we had the Aladdin character, and instead of a monkey, we had another sidekick character.
Okay.
And the Aladdin character was this kind of skinny guy, and the sidekick character was this rather large, bulky, muscly kind of guy. And they were really goofy. They played off each other very well. We were at this one elementary school where the stage was concrete. And they fall down into the Cave of Wonders, and of course we have the lights go down and we do a scene change, and they roll into the stage. And so the little guy, he rolls in first, and he starts to push himself up. And the other guy, I don't know if they were just acting up that day or if he didn't know exactly where everybody was, but he ended up landing on the smaller guy. And so the smaller guy on the concrete stage just went, woof.
Oh!
And he kind of stood up for a second, and he had lines and he wasn't saying his lines, and we're all just kind of standing around behind. And my wife, who was playing the villain of the role, she was actually, at the time she was pre-med, but she switched to theater.
Okay.
She peeks around the stage and she sees a big old bloody gash on his head. And if you know head wounds, they bleed a lot.
Okay.
And so he started having blood like running down his face. And so she runs out and she grabs his face and starts putting pressure on it. And then we're like, close the curtains. We're just like, close the curtains. Thank you, children, for coming out today. Go back to class now.
That's so funny.
That was an interesting experience, to say the least.
Of course.
Advantage film, because then you get to say, cut, let's deal with that, and we'll go back to this again later.
Oh, true.
But,
yes.
no, I like film. It's just a different way of storytelling. And it's, I like being able to get in close with people. I've worked with a lot of theater actors before, and especially the first time they're really in front of a film camera, you get a lot of big, exaggerated, oh my goodness, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, I know in theater you're acting to the person in the back of the room. This is your audience right here. We're right here. You don't have to be that big. And that's also fun for me, to get people experience in both and have them learn how to adjust between both. But with Ted, we also had, when COVID happened, everything shut down, we had an amazing opportunity to take some plays and actually record them. So I got to have some of the film club students come in, and we actually recorded, I think we recorded 3 plays total. I'm trying to remember. 2 of them I know are out right now. Is the third one out yet? I don't remember if the third one is out yet.
Is it The Romancers?
The Romancers, yes.
Yes.
We did. So that was the third one we did.
Okay, yeah. Candy Matson?
Yes, Candy Matson. And then we did Thirst, was the first one we did.
Thirst was the other one, right.
Thirst, I mean, Ted has said this, and I actually agree with him. Thirst, I think, came out the best.
Okay.
Just because there were some things that we were able to get closer, and we had more camera operators, so it was just different in that respect. But,
got it.
When you actually have a full film production and you take your time to craft your scene, and you have an actor, if you're in theater and an actor has a bad night, it's a bad night. There's nothing you can do about it. You just got to keep going.
Right.
But if you're in film and the actor doesn't like the way something is happening, they can say, can you do it again? Or if when I'm directing something, I can say, hey, can you do this, but give me a little more quicker reaction on your emotional turn, something like that. And so you're able to, in my opinion, I'm sure Ted would disagree with me, craft a little bit more specificity to the story. Not that you don't do that in theater, but it's just a different aspect of it. And then there's the technical side of things, because I'm a big tech geek, and I like setting up my lighting, and I like the different cameras, and how all these things affect the image, and also just being able to put something out for an audience anywhere. I mean, everybody has their phone right now, so you can make a video using your phone, put it out for anybody to see on the internet, and millions of people might see it online.
Right.
And that's something that I also enjoy. I mean, theater is great, but I also just really enjoy crafting those stories and putting them out there for lots of people to see.
Sure. And I can imagine. So do you have any projects on YouTube or anything that you've worked on?
Yes, quite a few actually. Most of my recent ones have been teaching videos, because that's what I do. During COVID, when everything was locked down, we were doing teaching videos. I work with a local production company called Tower Productions.
Okay.
And if you go to YouTube and search for Tower Productions, there's 2 of them. You have to look for the one that has the mountain. We have a mountain logo, the El Paso mountain logo with the star. If I remember right, that's what it is.
Okay.
I've done a variety of short films with them. They're a great group of local artists. They started because they met here at EPCC. They're actually in the film appreciation class. Carlos de la Torre and Austin Young, they met in the film appreciation class, got together, started this production company, and they've been around for about 5 years now. I joined them after I came to El Paso.
Okay.
But we've done a lot of short films. Those are all on YouTube. We've done music videos, corporate work, a wide variety of things. There's a podcast they're doing right now that's started off in COVID just because everybody was separate, so they got together and just were talking about things, interviewing some really big name actors and directors. Shane Hurlbuts was a DP that we got to interview. That's exciting for me, because I'm a lighting guy. I'm a director of photography primarily by training, and that's also just what I love doing. But getting to talk with him, who's somebody that I admire and look up to and have learned from, was really exciting to be able to be there and talk with him actually live in person.
That is neat. That's really awesome. So, okay, so you've done these short films, and so let me kind of ask you, where do you see, what kind of projects would you like to be working on in the next 10 years?
Well, something I've already talked about with Ted. I don't know if we can talk about this yet. I'm gonna break the rule. One of the things I already talked about with Ted, one of the first times I met him was at the large start of the year staff meeting, my first year at EPCC, and I hunted him down and I said, let's do a film together.
Oh, cool.
And so we've already talked about taking a stage play that he has written, turning it into a film script and actually filming it with our students being the actors, being the camera people. So maybe one summer after everything starts up again and everything's mostly back to normal as it can be at least, we're going to be hopefully pursuing that. Ted, I'm sorry if I got ahead of myself.
Right.
But that's very exciting to me because one of the number one things to help people advance in film production is being on set and seeing it really happen. Yeah. And so that experience, the hands-on experience that even in the classes is kind of hard to come by. We do the best we can with what we have, but it's sometimes hard to come by really getting hands-on experience in the different roles and seeing what you like best and how you can grow in that. So that's something that I like to do. I have a number of scripts that I've written. We have a Halloween short that's coming out hopefully by Halloween. That's the plan, at least.
Okay.
We shot it just a couple weeks ago, and we're trying to get that out it's a short film. We have a number of feature films that we have written that I say we as in Tower we.
Okay.
I have a couple, Carlos has a couple. We're actually pitching them to Netflix and Amazon to try and get them interested in it. And what they keep saying is they keep asking for series. They're like, this is a great feature. Do you have a series in idea? So we're taking some of these ideas and maybe expanding them out into a series.
Fleshing them out.
So that we could actually really make some good growth for the film community in El Paso.
Right.
Because as much as it's Tower doing it, we really want to help the entire film community in El Paso, which is growing and it has a lot of good people in it. And there's so much opportunity here in town. It's real easy to move to Los Angeles or Atlanta now, or even Albuquerque has a huge growth. But I think El Paso has a huge amount of potential if we would just tap into it and really dig down and really grow here in Texas.
Right. And that can be said for a lot of aspects of El Paso, is that it is a large city.
Yes.
And people don't, I don't trust the census. I feel like the census is probably off by about 300,000, at least. I'm sure we're over 1 million. The city is so vast, and it's also, anything that you want, you could probably find it in this city. You want a river, there's a river. You want some mountains, there's some mountains. You want some flat land, there's some flat. It's literally, and there's so much talent here too. And the work ethic in this town, we have so many people that, and I can speak for the college, that work so hard. We work so hard for our students. And we go out of our way for them, right? And I hope that I know they realize that. I know that at the end of the day, we get some beautiful compliments sometimes from them because they realize that we're doing this for them, right? All of the projects, even projects that don't involve them, like your work with Tower, it affects them because you're going to be the doorway for them in the future. And
we have a couple of former EPCC students that are working with Tower now.
That's awesome.
This is going to sound weird. I try to avoid bringing in students while they're students, but those that show an interest and really want to learn after, because I don't want to put pressure on them, like from a class side of thing, to say if you want to succeed in class, you need to do this. That's not my goal at all. But if I can provide an opportunity for them to say, hey, you're interested in this, you're good at it, I have this opportunity outside of school, that to me is a good thing. Giving more opportunities to current and former students.
Right. And I appreciate that so much for our students and all the work that you all have done. So just kind of a review of Mass Comm, because it's a big department.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot like music in that respect, that there's all these like specialized areas, right? So there's the newspaper, there's the radio station, There's, and I'm trying to remember, of course, there's the appreciation courses.
Right.
That's Comm. What is that? 13?
It was Intro to Film. Now it's Film Appreciation.
Great.
Film Appreciation is the class now.
Great. Wonderful. And fascinating. What do you guys cover in that course? So much.
Everything, well, everything about film. I actually was teaching that class earlier today.
Oh, nice.
But we just covered different aspects of film that not everybody always thinks about. Like, one of my favorite subjects that I cover in that film is the 3-act structure and character arcs. And I'm like, and most people, like, kind of their eyes glaze over when they hear that, but when they start really seeing, hey, in Star Wars, Luke starts off as this farm boy, and then he goes through all these steps, and he goes through this journey, and he gets this magical power, and then that grows, and then he's able to overcome the enemy with that. To me, that's fascinating.
Right.
And then I look at the students and I say, now pick a film that you like, and think about how that same thing happens in that film. And that's something that they start to realize, that there's common aspects to all these films that we enjoy. And I always tell the students, we're watching a certain number of films. You don't have to like them. I'm okay if you don't like a film. I want you to tell me why. And if they like a film, and I've had students tell me, hey, you should watch this. I'm like, I have watched it. Wasn't a big fan. I'm okay with that. They don't have to like them, but they can still learn from them. Like, learning about sound design, how sound is made in film, learning how the lighting is in film, learning how the characters are. We're learning how camera movement affects how we understand and how we appreciate the movement of film in the visuals. It's just everything. We talk about pre-production, the writing, the process, the actual production, which is sitting down and filming stuff, the post-production, where they're actually editing and putting the story together. And to me, maybe I'm just a geek and I love all this stuff, but it's just fascinating to me to see that process. And I get excited talking about it because it's enjoyable, and it's something that students, even if they don't realize it, they have been learning about it from whenever they started watching TV or film.
Right.
And it's just a different way of thinking about that in the academic setting. And then hopefully as they start looking at films in the future, they can think about, oh, wait a second, this was what we were talking about in class that one time. So they have a deeper appreciation for films as we go on.
Right. That's amazing. So I'm going to ask you one quick question before we go. Do you find that in movies, because I think this has got to be the case, just like music, that there's certain recipes that you follow that, and I'm not just talking about the story, but certain special effects, certain, like a certain percentage, as long as a movie contains this, it should be a commercial success?
To a point, yes.
Okay.
One of the things that I always point out with my students is, when we talk about 3-act structure, when we talk about character arcs, Disney has those nailed.
Yes.
One of the reasons Disney is so successful is they know that stuff, and they know how to turn it into an amazing story. But it's all basically the same thing. You can take almost any successful Disney movie and you see the same pattern over and over and over again. A little different in each way, but that's part of why they're so successful, because they've nailed that fundamental aspect of it. Usually when a Disney movie doesn't do that well, it's because they break away from that for some reason. Thank
you so much for coming. Everybody, thank you. And you'll be seeing Mr. Head's email and his phone number. You can contact him if you are interested in the Mass Comm department here at EPCC. Thanks so much, everybody, and bye-bye.